I'm 39 there, going for a 40th birthday, so 10 years ago. So, looking at that point, I thought, oh, I'm going to see a doctor. So I walked in to see a doctor, got an appointment, and there was a clinical Bob at the time. And the doctor was used to my rugby, Dr. Bob, and he said, walked in, and he says, hey, Tinsy, he says, you're looking well. I've asked you for you put weight on. So I said, yeah, I'm fine. He said, what can I do for you? Oh, I've been a little while, I'm coming to 40, I'm feeling quite ill, I'm feeling a bit lethargic, trying to do a bit of a health check. So he said, yeah, no problem, let's see what damage you've done. I stood on the couch, those nice softer ones that go up to like 20 cents a night. And I went round, and didn't move. It just died. I stood out, he looked at me and went, they're brand new, you know. I was like, what? He says, they're bus. He went, okay, he says, fine. He says, take a seat. So, your arm tried to sit in it. Just, you have to take it to go and get, you need to go to the infirmary and get tested, get weighed, because they've got a seat you can sit on. He says, it goes up to like 40 stone, so you'll be fine. And get your blood test down. So I did all. So I tried off the infirmary, he says, come back and see me in a week. Right, brilliant, okay. So I come back and see me in a week, and he says, take a seat. Now this time, I don't remember Jeremy Kyle. When they had some larger people on Jeremy Kyle, I had a slightly larger seat. Well, he had a member of me. So I'm sitting down. He says, listen, I've got to say to you, he says, you know I have to make some lifestyle changes. You're not going to see me 50th birthday. I said, I'm thinking, it's 10 years ago. There's a time for that. And I said, okay. He said, but the early results have come in. You've got high blood pressure, high cholesterol, you're borderline diabetic. He said, but we'll have to do some more tests and we want to get your blood oxygen levels and all stuff like that. So they should go in about 3 days' time. So he said, I really want to consider if you should consider some changes in your life, but again, we'll come back in 3 days and we'll discuss it. So I came back 3 days later. Now this was the big difference to me. I walked into the receptionist and the doctors, straight away, oh, Mr. Tibbets, yes. Doctor's waiting room 0, it's on the ground floor, he's there, ready for you. Now, is any doctor specialist in here? You do a great job. Normally, gatekeepers, because they have to be very officious, and I'd never been on air before. So I was thinking, that's odd. 1, she knew my name. 2, she's actually in my house. 3, she knew where, the doctor's waiting for me. Doctors never wait for you, they're never waiting for you. And he's on the ground floor, which is not a usual office. So, off I trot, walk in. As soon as I opened the door, it was different. He was business-like. He was like, take a seat. Not I tipped you in, take a seat. He said, right, I know you've been through this for a long time now. I can't sugarcoat this. He said, if I really want to, he says, I said, you've got probably dead by 50. He says, if you don't make changes now, you'll be dead by the time you want to be 40th birthday. He said, it's a miracle you're alive now, it's a miracle you're functioning. He said, you should be dead, you can't just think about that. He said, the pressure on your chest is ridiculous, the pressure on the joints is ridiculous. He says, you need to make some radical changes. Otherwise, you'll be dead. Which is where my friend comes in. I was looking at seeing him if I did make changes. Now, the thing with that though is, I spent a lifetime putting on weight, losing weight, putting on weight, losing weight. But when I sort of hit my 30s, all I ever did was put weight on. Now at this point I was in a really toxic relationship, marriage, and food was my comfort, food was my friend, food didn't never let me down. Food enabled me to, that guy there had a big suit of armour, nothing could hurt me, and do you know what? Nothing could, because I got the jokes out well before anybody else. I used to just ridicule myself before anybody else did, because one, it stopped my wife ridiculing me, because if I got jokes and she didn't say it. Her way of introducing me to her friends was, this is my useless fat seed of a husband. And that was for people. So I thought, well, I'm going to just be safe. Food and never let me down. But that was not going to save me. I thought, right, I need to make some changes. I need to just radically overhaul my life. And I lost weight. I started losing weight. At that time, I used to have a traditional diet for losing weight, which was cornflakes in the morning, tuna fish and mashed potato and stuff, and cornflakes in the evening. Now, if you can imagine, the size I am there, the amount of weight I was carrying around were, 1,500 calories a day against probably burning 4,000 a minute. Of course, I was going to lose weight really, really fast, but it wasn't sustainable. So, I made some huge changes to my life. I moved to London, divorced my wife, married a new one, to get 10 years. I went back of she's over there. By the way, because she's sick of hearing the story. She's sick of hearing the story. But yeah, so anyway, so that's me. But this is the thing, and she'll come and chat to me. You think with these changes, right? You think with that warning there, right? That, hey, I know my life story. You think that I've made these changes, but no. Throughout 5 years, I rollercoasted. I was up and down. I'd have a fat wardrobe and a thin wardrobe. But then I started putting my back on again. And then what happens is, I have this time. So this is me, 2016. So this was 5 years after that. I'd lost weight and gone really slim. I started putting my back on. I got a corporate job and I was stressed, but to the outside world, I had it all. I had a 6-figure job with a multinational company, flew business class, we had a Range Rover drive, we had a lovely home, sandbach, everything you can imagine. But what you see there, that guy in that picture, he's dead behind the eyes. Because he is just crushed inside. Because I hadn't got control of my eating. I hadn't got control. It was closing me. No matter what I told myself, how I dealt with stress, I started putting weight back on. So, I had a new approach so now. I didn't need tuna fish and mashed potato. I didn't need cornflakes. I found the gym. So, that was great. And I threw myself into getting fit. But I didn't ever deal with the elephant in the room. I never dealt with the fact that I had an eating problem. I never dealt with the fact that I used to mask all my emotions with eating. I never dealt with the fact that I was a liar, I was a cheat, I used to hide things. There was a really funny story about cinnamon swirls. When we were on holiday, and we went to go and get some bread to feed ducks, and I know you shouldn't feed ducks bread, okay? I know that now. And Carl and I were there, and I said, oh, go and get some bread, don't worry, go to Morrison's. I walked in, and straight in front of me with these cinnamon swirls, pack and fork. Now, a sensible guy would go, I'll take them back and share them with my daughter and my wife. Now, my head was like, how can I eat them 4 cinnamon swirls and get them before I get home, get back to Carl? That was my logic, that was my brain pattern, that's how I thought. So, guess what, I did eat them. And I got away with it, until we got around the corner and I still had some cream frosting and Carmen, what are you doing? It's just, where's Hunter? So I was only one. I got rumbled a couple of years ago, I did a video with Carmen. Thought you said you only had one! That said 4. So, even my lying and my cheating caught up with me afterwards as well. So anyway, how did I do myself into the room? Well, what was interesting about this was I was trying to out-train my poor diet. I was trying to out-train because I had exercise. That was great. I threw myself into it. So, a really good friend, Ruth, she'd gone through a whole range of addictions. She'd done drugs, alcohol, food, everything. And she said, right, I had a breakdown from work. I had a very good work and I escaped because it didn't work for me. And I was like, okay, how am I address this? How am I going to solve this? Because exercise isn't going to do it, because I'm just making myself ill. And so I reached out and I joined a group called Overeaters Anonymous. Now, every time I say this, people go, who? What? They're a bit like Fight Club. We've got to talk about it. Because their 11th tradition is, you don't talk about it. So I got kicked out of being an active member in December 2020 when I came out of the developmental story. I can still go to meetings and I feel pretending, but I can't go out to a sponsor or group leader. But for me, I then realised that I actually had a problem. I realised I had to solve this problem. I realised I had to take control and take responsibility for my life. Now, that comes from realising that no matter how much work and effort I put in, no matter how much I try and think about diet, no matter how much diets I do, plans I do, none of it is going to work unless I fix my head. Unless I take responsibility and look at my mindset. Because that is where all my doing happens. So, what was the key driver? Well, the key driver was 6 months into my recovery, I found myself on a building going, I don't know how to do this. I'm going to go and go back. I don't think I can go back to the guy you saw in those pictures. I don't honestly think I've got it in me to get rid of them guys, because they're always going to be there. They're always going to be eating at me. And I had to take responsibility. I had to take ownership. And I thought, well, if I go back to that, I'm just going to let all my family down. If I sit down, or I get to pay out from work, I end all this pain. But it was not going to work for me. So I had to face up to that guy in the room, that guy there. It's not me, better looking than me, but yeah. I realised that the only pain was going to come from me. I started working the steps really hard. I couldn't get past 4 at that point. 6 months in, I couldn't get past step 4. And then I realised I had to open the book. I had to start repaying some of the wrongs I did. I had to go looking at my actions, and some of the things I did are equal to what any addict would have done. I ashamedly, because I knew I had a problem with food, I caused a massive problem with takeaway, so I wouldn't get sick. So the fact that got barred. Now, in my process of recovery, I had to go and apologise for my actions. So I went to see the guy. I thought he was nice, to be fair. And he explained it. And what he did then is he actually created a meal for me in his takeaway that was ultra low calorie, basically cheap and bad, but he got a special bread in, he got those skinny sauces in. Now, on the back of that, he sells hundreds of them a week now, because there's lots of people buying them. He then promoted it. He goes, look at this guy, look how much he's weighing, he eats my give out. But again, I had to apologise. I had to apologise to Calm, people at work. In the depths of my addiction, I used to pretend I was good. We'd order Domino's as a family, and they'd be like, oh no, I don't want this. No, oh, I don't want that. And I'd scoop them all up. I'm a really good husband, aren't I? So I'm putting them in the bin. Then they'd all go to bed, and I'd be in the bin, get them out, eat the pizza. I shouldn't say it, that's what I used to do. But by talking to people, by taking the ownership, by realising that I could get help, and by realising there was more than me in this process, I could get moving, I could find a way and make progress on this. So, what is emotional eating? Well, it's eating in response to those emotions. It's other than the feelings of hunger. And quite often you find with binge eating and emotional eaters that actually they don't even know what hunger is. They don't know the hunger level, don't know the performance scale. It's one of the things that I teach people is hunger performance. Eating at someone, you made me do this. Eating to forget and distract, again, that was me quite often. Eating to feel better, because food always makes you feel better. Only a small period of time, it always does. It releases those serotonin and dopamine. Eating out of boredom, how many times have you been sat there and you've had a packet of crisps or a big packet of Doritos, and before you know it, the pack's gone. You're sat there mindlessly wanting to tell you just because you do it. Eating out of habit, how many people have biscuits and cups of tea? And there's 2, now there's 4. And I have 2 biscuits every cup of tea, I have 10 cups of tea a day, I have 20 biscuits. because I have to have biscuits with a cup of tea. It's just habit creates it. And remember, not all emotional eaters have to have an eating disorder, or even disordered eating. And you don't have to be a binge eater or binge to be an emotional eater. You could quite often be, oh, why do I binge? But I eat my emotions. But think about this. Why is eating so soon? Well, think as soon as you cry as a baby, what happens? Bottle or boot. Straight away, there you go. Whenever you cry, the first response is to get a bottle. Then the chicken up. Because it's happened. You've got this connection straight away there. If I'm upset, I get soothed by food. And it creates that parental tension that makes oxytocin. And don't forget, when you're feeding that baby and it starts crying, the mother's always going, or the dad's going, oh, I can't for that. So the baby's reacting to the parents happier. And again, food is associated with sleep, that nighttime bottle. Remember as a toddler, you've got this finding new food, you're encouraged to try things. It's like, wow, it's the first time you experience power and control. You always start forming memories around food. And quite often unhealthy foods will always treat you, oh, you've been good as a chocolate bar. You never go around and give kids carrot sticks for being good. But again, quite often we see this as a reward recognition. The child is like, oh great, yeah. Every time we go shopping, I'm good at shopping, I'll get a cake from mum. Yeah, brilliant. Well done. And you think about this, also continues. Think about this, we culturally associate eating and caring and doing. Wedding breakfast. The first meal the first thing what you imagine is you have a meal, it's a wedding breakfast. Christmas, Easter, birthdays. And then when you think about it, low blood sugar can cause feelings of depression and anxiety, which you call by food. You feel going to grab a Snickers. You hungry out of bed. Because again, it changes that. And evolution again predisposes that human body to crave high sugar, high fat, high calorie foods for quick energy and to perform. We are no longer being chased by tigers. But unfortunately, your urges to eat come from the same part of the brain that is craving this. Your lower brain, which is responsible for fight or flight, is there, and it's also responsible for binge eating and emotion eating, because it's like going, right, Chris is stressed, needs to protect him. Feed, it'll go away. So again, it's all been, emotion eating, you're up against it straight away because it's all been created since you were a baby. So, are you an emotional eater? Well, do you ever eat without realising you're doing it? Raise your hands. We're all a safe place here, not moving. Okay, you're an emotional eater. Do you ever feel guilty or shamed after eating? Yeah, you're an emotional eater. Do you eat after an experience that's caused negative emotions, such as being angry after an argument, even if you are feeling hungry? Yeah? So, basically, if you answer yes to any of those questions, you're an emotional eater. Now, there is a question there which I'm not going to solve with John, there's a whole range of stuff coming your way. But there's a question there that helps you specify what type of emotion you are. Okay? Because again, when you actually understand that, you can do work against it. You can work on that. But all of them, whenever time we talk, this is like, things get higher. And a lot of people relate to this. So, the emotional eating cycle. Think about this, okay? Occasionally, using foods that pick me up or to celebrate isn't necessarily a bad thing. Okay? It's good, God, birthday cake. I love birthday cake. In fact, this was 18, and when we get back there tonight, she's 18, but she's got a capital cake. Don't judge. But when you think about this, when eating is your primary emotional coping mechanism, right? When your first impulse is to open that fridge, or to go on Just Eat, or to open those cupboards, okay? When you're stressed, angry, lonely, exhausted, bored, when you're in that unhealthy cycle, okay? That's when the problem is real. And that's, if you don't address it, that's when it gets bigger and experiences those bigger urges and gets out of control. So, what's the cycle look like? Well, you should all probably relate to this, okay? And this is what we call mood dysfunctional behaviour block. But I'm keeping it simple so I don't get all big words clear tongue tied. So, here we go. Something happens to you. Football team loss. That's very good. I'm at a call of work and somebody's just shouted at me. I was like, didn't deserve that. I'm upset. You get that overwhelming urge to eat. Right? Feels good for a bit. It's great. I'm feeling better now, yeah, that's worked. But then you eat more than you should do. Because that one chocolate bar didn't solve it. Because you've been using it all the time, you need 3, you need 4 chocolate bars. Then you start feeling guilty and powerless over food. Then you get that shame. Then it kicks in. So guess what? Something's happened to you. You're in no state again. So you're going, well, I've blown it now, haven't I? Like, I'm going to eat something else. Then you eat more sugar. And if you're not careful, this is when they hear people blow it on a Friday. And they go and start on Monday. You know, they go through this cycle constantly. And what you have to do, first tip, right? Learn forgiveness, right? If you do this, right, you can break that by forgiveness. Difficult thing to learn, but once you master it, it starts breaking that cycle. So, what's behind emotional eating? Well, the first thing you have to do is rule out physical causes. Is it overeating? You know? Are you feeling anxious and irritability and fatigue? Is it a lack of sleep? You know, because again, when you're tired, you might crave sugar and stimulus. Is it dehydration? Thirsty? You know, often we confuse hunger with thirst. Nutritional causes. Again, you know, what have you been eating? What's in your diet? What's caused this? If it's not any of them things, then you've got the problem with this. You've got your trigger foods. My good friend had a Cookie Monster. I beat him in a chocolate hot dog eating competition one more time. 7 packs is my record. This used to be my 2 trigger foods I still have. I couldn't eat a Domino's pizza like that anymore, but I can eat Domino's because if you get a really thin, it's almost like a tortilla thin, right? They can't put that devil sauce around the edge of the thing they put on the crust because that is highly addictive. And that is probably that trigger me. And it has been proved in research that Domino's spend $72 million doing research to get the perfect glaze that hits your spot and makes you want more. Because they put people on MRI scanners, they're feeding them and seeing where it hit your brain. And it was reacting in exactly the same places as the effects of cocaine and other drugs that stimulated it. Now, hot dogs, I can never touch hot dog again. One this year, and I did the whole pack. In fact, last year I had a panic attack in a supermarket because apparently they've got 7 different flavours now. 7! Now, I can cope when it's two in a row on a big wall of biscuits. I walked into the supermarket and straight in front of me, there's like the end of the aisle, and I'm going, oh my god, what am I going to do? It's like, I didn't know they did mince pie. I didn't know they did. And I literally had a panic attack. I had to leave the shop. I literally just dropped my basket and went out because I was triggered. No, it wasn't even open, but I was triggered because again, they're still triggered. Now, the one chocolate hot dog I can't eat though, I'll give you 3 chocolate hot dogs because they're rank. So, again, when we look at this, what's behind it, okay, we look at those trigger foods. It's really important to identify trigger foods because again, and you do this by looking at a food journey, which we're going to come to. But alongside looking at your trigger foods, we need to look at habits, okay? Is there a particular time of day activity that makes you crave food? Are there any particular times you mind see driving, watching television? Are you going too long between meals and needing that sugar boost, which leads to sugar crash? I look at people when I work with my clients, especially people who've got proper, challenge with disordered eating, and they're given a food journal, I'm going, in what world, bear in mind your conditions, where you know how you're sure it is, in what world do you think it's okay to have a banana and a cup of coffee at breakfast, have a salad at lunch, and think you're only get to 6 o'clock and not go and hit the cupboards? What world do you think that's even possible? Because they're just progress now. Then you have to rule out eating for comfort instead, because once you start identifying and ruling that, we can start working and solving the problem. So, my intervention, my vision, food diet, okay? Separate to MyFitnessPal, separate to tracking calories and macros, day, time, feeling, thoughts, choices. So, there's another one that has hunger levels as well. So, Monday, 3:30, I'm feeling tired, I've got no energy. I need a Snickers for a pick-me-up. I'm not hungry, I'm just tired and sluggish, need energy boost. Now, there are choices and decisions I make there. I can have a Snickers, brilliant. I can have a cup of coffee. I can have a nap or stretch and walk around a few minutes. So, actually, the decision I made was I decided to have a coffee and stretch. Now, as you say, when you do this, you can add that to one more level. You can add in the location when you enter. You can add your hunger level. You can add how you felt after eating it. The more information you can capture about what food you're eating, you will get all the ideas about triggers, get ideas about location, about what people have impacted you, times of day, and locations. And then when you're eating, right? This sounds really, really simple. But when you're an emotional eater, or just got soul eating, use a plate. Right? I'm guilty for a lot of things. Right? Sit down, sit at a table, sit at the kitchen table. The one big thing I found that lockdown caused people when they worked from home in our home office, they started eating at the kitchen table. And they stopped forgetting about using it to eat. Eliminate distractions, right? Do not sit there going, because guess what? You're not actually concentrating on what you're eating. You're mindlessly eating. And by doing that, you're not actually getting the signals to your brain that's saying, I'm eating, because you'll just be going through the motions. And then focus on the food. So, I had a client, a boy who had a problem. He used to spend £1,000 a month on Just Eat, Uber Eats, delivery. He ordered everything. He had his coffee delivered, his breakfast delivered. And he turned to me, he says, I've got this birthday coming up. It was last year when we started sort of lockdown. And he says, and I'm really worried because he ordered his burger and his wings, and I've ordered his girlfriend's birthday. I'm worried about eating it because normally I just eat it and then I eat hers. I said, well, I want you to tell me what every bite of that burger tastes like. I want to know whether you had tomato, what the sauce was like, the texture of the bun, the texture of the burger, what the fries like. Were they fluffy? Were they seasoned? What was your chicken wing like? He messaged me the next day and says, Alice, I'll be honest, I only ate half the burger. I'm like, wow. He said, it was awful. I'm like, oh, that wasn't my plan. But it worked because I tasted it, and normally he would have just wolfed it down to his burger. He said, the chicken wings, they had no flavour. I said, so what do you say? Oh, the phone company up and got a refund. I said, great. He said, what would you normally do? He said, oh, I would have let that ammo go for it. Even though it wasn't good food, it would have let it. So again, by focusing on it, he actually enjoyed the experience. So, when we look at these interventions as well, try to avoid setting up a binge, right? By restricting certain foods, okay? When we say, cheat meals, right? God, I hate that word, right? Cheat meals. Or when we go, well, good food, bad food. There's all food nutritious. You've got nutritionally dense and not nutritionally dense. But when we start labeling things, you start creating this thing of, oh, I can't have this, or I can't have that. When you can't have something, what do you want? You always want it. And buying a bunch of comfort foods is something simple like, Why did you have that? Oh, I go because I need kids. He says, yeah, but the kids actually like that. No, they don't like those. One of the tips I gave to somebody, one of the things that Carmen used to help me with chocolate bars, was I don't like crunchies. Right? So what did we have? They loved crunchies. So we had crunchies in the cupboard. I was never going to eat them because, one, they really called me out for eating them, and two, I don't like them. But buying this, actually having things in the house, it's just crazy. And then going too long without eating. Like I said, if you have a problem with predisposition to binge, right, you really need to look at your eating plan and eating cycle. And you be eating regularly. Because if you do that, it is a medically proven way of stopping that food binge. Because you're binging because you're fearful, you're fight or flight, you're low brain going, oh, I don't know where I'm going from. I need that food, I need to have that food because I may not eat again. Even though you know you are going to. And then there's this, you do feel like urge coming on. Initially just start, okay? Whether it's a bath, a walk, calling a friend, looking through your phone, or social media, so long as it's not a trigger. And then when it is happening, identify those emotions, right? If it's depression, helplessness, is it stress, anxiety, fear, failure? But what you need to remember is actually none of these things, right? Eating is not going to solve your problem, because guess what? That problem, if you are feeling depressed, right? If you're feeling stress, anxiety, anger, whatever's causing that is still going to be there once you're there, and you know what? It's going to be worse because you have the feeling of guilt and showing yourself low and that. So think of why and solving that problem rather than having that food. So I'm going to introduce you to something called the behaviour method, which I think will help us. But because it's leveraging as now limited. And this is about a process of understanding how you can address this in 4 really simple steps. So I developed the deal method by looking at all of the programs I've done. And I have, throughout my recovery, I've spent £85,000 on my recovery. Right? Whether that's Weight Watchers Living World, New, Light Life, Cambridge, skinny diet pills, really skinny jabs, Slim Fast, meal services, therapy, personal trainers, coaches, got lots of coaches, all of that. I thought if there was a program, I'm really grateful that social media isn't what it is today when I started my recovery, because I would have bought shed loads of stuff on Instagram. In fact, doing some research in my book at the moment, my feed is now full of weight loss, and it's like I've got loads of pharmacies saying, hey, do you want to take these jabs? Don't worry, it's only going to be like £800 for 12 weeks, you'll be fine, right? Then there's new risky targeting. By the way, new saving money is the biggest con out there. But for me, I developed a deal method because I wanted to find a simple way of helping people make progress. And the reason it is, it's about the first D obviously is to determine, what am I feeling, what am I thinking? What is important to me? Because I know, right, because I'm in recovery, that eating is always a danger. Right? Eating is never going away. I'm in recovery for the rest of my life. But what's driving that thought process? What's making me think about it? Why am I having these 3 thoughts? But what is that important to me? What is having nice food going to help me get closer to my goals? Is that going to solve my problem? What other things could I do that would get me closer to my goals? Because, I could choose to let it go. But quite often when you're in the middle of it, you can't. I could solve the problem. My God, wouldn't that be a lot easier if I solved the problem? Well, every solve can come back to this feeling of wanting to eat. Change the way you feel and think about it. Again, when I'm looking at this, I can see myself just going through the cycle again. I saw a video, again, Russell Brand, if you haven't, he's got a book called Freedom, Recovery, or Recovery Freedom, on the brilliant. Audio book's even better. However, if you don't like the F word, I wouldn't listen to it. But I think he is a massive idiot. Right? I can't stand the guy when he does some stuff. When he talks about addiction and recovery, I ignore the guy. Right? I can forget all of the rubbish films and all the other rubbish he spouts. When you talk about, I can see his passion, I can understand like a computer. Now he did a video about this whole, somebody stood up like we like this and said, Russell, when can you, how do you know in that moment, in that fork in the road, when you're about to have that drink, take those drugs, eat that food, text that ex-girlfriend you shouldn't have a relationship with, or place that bet? And he goes, it's not in that moment you're about to do it. The fork in the road is a long way back. It's so far back, you have so many warning signs, because you're going to have a, what am I feeling, what am I thinking? Is it going to serve me? Is it important to me? You're having that. So people, that urge to think, you think, oh, I've got no control of it. You're getting warning signs so much earlier than you think you are. And this is why I can tell you from here that it can be beaten. You can deal with it. So, we've determined what the problem is, okay? And I think about this. So then we've got the pre-bridge state. So we're in there determining it and thinking about this. So in that state, you've got what we call thoughts, feelings, and circumstances. So I'm going to give you some examples of what that means. So, here's the thing about this. Component 1, a thought. I ate a load of biscuits at work. Component 2, I feel frustrated, I'm like a failure. I pass the bacon on my own, and I buy a load of cakes, and I binge. Thoughts, feelings, consequences. So, feel stressed and angry at the boss, the other me today, gets home to the fridge, I feel I need something better. Guess what? I ordered chips, pizza, but I'm eating angry in front of the TV. I'm not eating because I'm eating because I'm eating with that person. Walks past a shop where they usually buy binge food. Oh, I'll just pop in and buy dinner. Well, why not? I just eat my dinner. Telling yourself a lie there, by the way, but yeah. Guess what? You walk around the shop and you've got your basket, it's like cookies. Chocolate bars. Oh, yeah, and I'll get that full fat coke. Oh, yeah. And you walk around the shop and you filled your basket on autopilot, by the way, you didn't know you put it in the basket. And guess what? You bought it. Now, you bought that food, now it goes home with you. I would say pretty much you haven't. Most of that's gone in the car on the way home. Because you don't want anyone to know you've done this, by the way. So these are all things that happen, and you can identify them and work on them. So, John will know this woman. If you don't know her, she's awesome. Byron Katie, right? You can fight with reality, right? And you'll only lose 100% of the time. But we do constantly fight with reality. But we need to not do this. So, we now come to embrace, and understand embrace. Now, I want to highlight something here that's really important, okay? This is not about passivity, right? It's not about being this victim of circumstance. It's not resigning yourself to the situation. Although I'm asking you to embrace what's going on around you, and embracing the fact that you've got this disordered eating, we'll call it, okay? Because I get more going, binge, emotional, we've got disordered eating, right? And it's not giving up personal responsibility, because I see too many people come to me and go, Chris, you need to think about emotional eating. Yeah, no worries. I need to give me a plan. Right, so I'll give you a plan. Yeah, I need to give you a plan. Where is your responsibility in that? Oh, no, you've got to tell me. I says, tell you what? Well, you've done this, tell me how you did it. I can use the tools, I use the techniques, but you know what? You've got to own it. You've got to own this. You've got to look in that mirror and you've got to embrace the fact that you are who you are, and you want to change. Because a lot of people say they want to change, but they don't. So, we embrace. We need to develop alternate ways of embracing these thoughts, feelings, and circumstances. So again, this is about distraction. This is about talking it out. The problem I find that a lot of, when I work with clients coming in, nobody knows about it. Because guess what? We don't talk about emotional eating. We don't. You can't say it because somebody will go, well, just don't eat it then. Yeah, great, thanks for that. And people go, well, or extremely, or they even encourage it. Oh, you're okay. No, you don't need to worry. Oh, yeah, I like you the way you are. That's great, but they don't understand that pain and suffering that you're going to go through. So finding people you can talk out to. If you are struggling, reach out to me. John's got you here with me for a year. You've got me. I'm in your group. I'm in the right group. If you're struggling, message me. Okay? Find people you can share what your challenges are. Journal. Okay? Use the journal. Use a food journal. Use mood journal. Capture those feelings. Capture where those triggers are. Make a pro and con list. So, one thing that's coming up for you guys is I'm going to be course about this. And I'm going to make you question, do you really want to give it up? Do you really want to give up a genuine question? Or not? And then focus on the positives, okay? Because quite often, as emotion eaters, we're quite pessimistic, we're quite negative. We're always glass is half empty. And then view failures as learning opportunities, okay? If you do have a lapse, right? Great, what can I learn? Learn a lesson apply. What did I learn from that event? And what lesson, and how can I apply it to learn the next time? Because that's what they are. Every time you'll find a trigger, a new trigger. Okay? Something else came about. And then identify whether it's actually worth your energy. Quite often I see a lot of people who get caught up and they'll eat at somebody, right? Would you rather be right or would you rather be free? That's something I ask myself all the time. Because if I want to be right, that's going to be a lot of energy. And I've got far more better things to do with my time. I've got far more things to do with my energy. So, now we're looking at acceptance, okay? This is looking at alternate ways of accepting these situations, okay? We need to start eliminating the vulnerabilities, okay? And looking at the trigger points, whether it's an emotional trigger or a violent trigger. Now, you can have, when you've got the three triggers, you can either eliminate it, that'd be great. You can avoid it, or you can manage it. Now, a lot of triggers, you're going to have to learn a way of managing them. But if you can eliminate them to start with, that's the best thing to do. You need to be compassionate with yourself, okay? Forgiveness, like I said before, forgiveness is so important because you need to get rid of those feelings. I liken, so who can remember the film Drop Dead Fred?
Yeah.
Yeah. My big judge, I reckon everyone can do, is Fred, right? Fred, who used to be my best mate when I was young, because I was a sad lonely kid, we had great friends, used to get in all sorts of trouble. But he's back now again because now he's the one who tells her, they don't understand you. Go and have that cake. Go and have that hot one. Go and eat that pizza. But the more I can shut Fred down, the more I can kick him out, the more I can kill him off, the stronger I'm going to be him. But by straight away turning around and saying, right, that's Fred talking, you've feel like you're Harry Potter, that ridiculous child. You start looking at those things, you're taking their power. And then meditate. Again, I use meditation, just 5 minutes. Quite often, I'm taking myself in a situation. If while my thought, your brain can process and think about one thing, so we're working on that. Now, my mind will drift and go to things, I use it to bring myself back to it. And then another technique is called closing the kitchen. So, when you have a meal, right, treat it like a restaurant and go, kitchen's closed. That's it. Until the next meal time. So you walk in, no kids are supposed to, can't have them. And the last one is urge surfing. So urge surfing is the best way to practice this without food, because we all love mobile phones, is get your phone, get a nice quiet area, put it in front of you, right? And basically have it on. Now if you're anything like anybody else, you'll have apps that are popping up, and obviously you get a notification you want to pick it up. So basically you can't, you're just looking at it. But while looking at it, you need to be thinking about those physical sensations. What am I feeling? What's that getting inside me making you want to pick up the phone? Because once you start learning the benefits of urge surfing, you can actually write things down. Because when you have that urge, it's a bit like a wave, isn't it? It's coming, right? And it builds, and it builds, and it builds, and it builds. You think it's never ever going to end. But like most waves, it peaks and then it drops. All you've got to do is ride that wave, ride that urge, until it drops. I know you're looking at the good beverage. Right? Remember this. Emotional eating is like most unregulated escape behaviours. It never addresses the underlying emotions and their causes. It often results in physical issues such as weight gain, poor sleep, reduced energy. And then some people try to undo their emotional eating by restricting other calories, which leads to nutritional deficit and more craving, diet rigidity, which guess what, then creates a binge environment. So as emotional eaters, we need to first find a way to stop before they eat. And there's loads of techniques to go through that. Second, identify the underlying reason for the eating, and then address the thoughts and emotions leading to those urges. What's important though, okay, I tell all my clients here. If you're a binge eater, the good news is 55% of people make a full recovery, no binge again. The rest of us will actually just be able to manage the urges. But what's important is to remember there is no quick fix of breaking free from most eating binge eating. No matter what you see, whatever the jabs tell you, what anyone tells you, right? Because if you take a jab which helps you weight loss, brilliant, it suppresses your energy, expresses your thoughts and processes. But they're using it for a period of time. If you do not address this problem, if while you're taking the food suppressant or whatever blocking your neurons in your brain, if you're not solving your reasons for doing this, guess what? When they stop the prescription because they can't keep doing it for long, it all goes back. So, if we can crack these habits by working on our mindset, remember, it's not developed overnight, so you can't expect them to change. So, people come in and say, "Oh, what are you doing today?" "Oh, I'm going to cure it." I go, "Hold on, you've been doing this all your life and you want me to cure it now?" "Hey, I wish I could, because I'd be on my yacht in the Bahamas." And remember, breaking free, right, does require patience and persistence. But it can, and I promise you, it'll get better over time. You just got to believe it. You need to have belief, you need to have hope. When you have belief, it can happen. So, I have 10 top tips for you. Alright. First one, another diet is not the answer, okay? There is a good chance that a diet is what contributes to your binge eating habit. So guess what? Another one is not going to solve it. And stop looking for a diet in hopes it will solve your problems. A diet can't fix a problem that another diet created or contributed to. Don't have cheat days. Again, I hate that word, right? Or forbidden foods. Because what's it doing? Because I want to know certain foods or certain time. You get an all or nothing mentality. Because if you've restricted yourself, okay, and you slip up, and if you then on top of that have some alcohol, you then slip into disordered eating. When you're disordered eating, you are literally smashing your own side because you haven't allowed yourself to have it for a lot of time. And remember, having this forbidden food leads to feelings of guilt when you do eat them. And remember, you always want what you can't have. And don't view foods as bad or evil, because they're not. Celebrate all victories and don't dwell over minor setbacks. Okay? Now, whether you go one meal, one day without emotional eating, you celebrate it. Okay? Be proud of this victory, because what you're doing every time you celebrate it, right, you're pushing down that negativity, you're pushing down that feeling of I can't do this, you're creating those anchors in your mind to go, do you know what, I did it. I can do this. Do you know what I did it last Tuesday? Oh, I did it last Thursday. But we spend so much time focusing on when you slipped up and failed. Again, don't dwell on those minor setbacks. When you slip up, don't get frustrated, learn a lesson, apply, move on. Forgive and move on. Have positive support, I said again. Talk to someone you can trust who will support you. Surround yourself with people who support you and love you. You're in a great environment here, by the way. You've got a great start point. But avoid people who will trigger and sabotage you. If you have got those friends, right, who will always like go, oh, just have that dessert, and you don't actually want to be feel obliged. Or they're always like, oh, send down to Christmas a big lad on the table, he'll finish it off. Or they're always encouraging you to drink more, or do things that you don't want to do but you're feeling not to fit in. Just avoid them. Not to move on in life completely, but just think about getting better and think about yourself. Again, as emotion eaters, one of the things is we are part of the people business. I want to keep making one happy. Our judgment. Well, I need you to step up and start looking after yourself. Be kind, right? You are going to slip up at some point, okay? I do, even now, okay? But don't beat yourself up about it. Forget it and move on. Knowing the difference between emotional hunger and physical hunger, okay? I call this the apple test. If you are hungry, and I go, here's an apple, and you go, no thanks, you're not physically hungry. If you're going to go, yeah, but I need that slice of cheesecake. Yeah, but that's probably emotional. Because think about this, right? Emotional hunger, you all know, it urges. When it hits you, like, oh my god, I'm starving! Whereas physical hunger, how many times have you done something, oh, I'm hungry? And then the phone rings, or you go somewhere, or you do something, and then like, 2 hours have passed, and oh god, I'm eating. Oh, I'm hungry. Emotional hunger will come on suddenly as well. It's like, oh! Whereas physical hunger comes on gradually, you suppress it, but it comes on. Emotional hunger craves those foods that you consider comfort foods. Emotional hunger wants, say it wants that Coke Spicy. It wants that Krispy Kreme donut. It wants that chocolate bar. It doesn't want the grapes. Oh god no, it doesn't want the carrot sticks. Oh god no, it wants those things. Whereas physical hunger is open to a wide range of options. Just to feed me, I'm just hungry. I don't care, I just want some food. Emotional hunger isn't satisfied even when your stomach is full. This is why you'll find you stuff and stuff and stuff and stuff, because you're eating emotionally. Whereas if you're physically hungry, you'll get to like a 7 on the scale and go, you know what, I enjoyed that, yeah, I'm satisfied, I'm moving on. And then emotional hunger will trigger those feelings of guilt, powerlessness and shame, like we saw in the cycle. Whereas eating to satisfy physical hunger does not make you feel bad about yourself. You go, actually, I enjoyed it, I feel good. I feel ready to take on the world. Like I said, listen to your body. Hunger and fullness discovery scale. You need to learn to identify natural sensations like physical hunger. Eat when you're physically hungry, eat slowly, and stop eating when you're satisfied. I can't see where I was going, but I'll send that. But basically, 10 is you are physically sick from eating, you're so full. 1 is you are dizzy, you're going to collapse. What you need to be doing is eating when you hit a 3 and stopping between a 6 and 7. Once you get to a 1, you're the likelihood of emotional hunger, physical hunger kick in. And you will not stop until you get to 10. You keep going and you keep going. So try and aim between 3 and a 7. Avoid resources that bring you down, okay? This was critical for me. If certain websites and magazines make you feel bad about yourself, avoid them. Resources that make you feel obligated to look a certain way are not actually promoting health and fitness, and surround yourself with positive resources. If it doesn't build you up, you don't actually need it. Make this part of your story, right? Emotional eating sucks, right? It's horrible. But you know what? It can be part of the story. This can make you stronger and more resilient. Because if you get this under control, it it means you've got your mindset in place. You're no longer, you're solving your problems because you're not solving them by eating, you're actually dealing with the problem in hand. Now, this is not, may not make sense to you now, but this can make you a better version of yourself. I start with one small thing, okay? I get lots of clients come to me, I'm sure you've done in gyms with me, they want your health level and do all these things, right? Do not try to do too much at once. Just do one thing at a time, okay? Now, get used to journaling your food, or get used to sitting at the table, or get used to thinking about those earlier, bird surfing, but just practice something. Because each time you have that win, each time you have that bit of success, it builds on it. And once you start making one thing a habit, start doing one more thing. These small changes create those big results. You all got the Dave Belts from Team Sky and cycling Team GB. They go 1% improvement. You can make a 1% improvement every day to our eating habits. At the end of the year, you have a huge change. So, there we go. Any questions? Hi, John. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
How about for absence?
Yeah. Copy the slide. I will send it to John.
Thank you.
Anyone else got any questions?
What made you specifically realise that you were an emotional eater rather than something else on the obese scale?
It was that I had no control. So I could lose weight, no problem. In fact, I wasn't constantly losing weight. But I realised that I was having more problems, and I realised that I wasn't solving them. So when I had the breakdown, one of the things in the story is I woke up. I went to go to Shrewsbury to work for Starbucks. Don't ask me why, I worked in Birmingham. And I sat there. I ordered at the time my traditional cinnamon swirl and large full fat caramel macchiato with drizzle and God as well. And what happened then is 4 hours later I woke up. I hadn't been asleep, but I was back in the room. Cinnamon swirl was gone for enough, and the cup was empty. And I didn't know after those 4 hours. And I realised I had a problem, I realised I had to deal with this. And then I went to the therapy afterwards, and I uncovered that even when I tried to solve the problem of exercise, it was bringing myself back to food. And I realised I had this really bad trait. I'd gone from overeating, I'd gone from binge eating to actually a full-on food addiction. And that's when I really got scared, but I need to solve this. And whenever I look back at it, I look back at my traits, it was always around food. Everything was around food. Everything around food.
How long did it take you to find your emotional triggers?
I still find it now. So, what I say to my clients all the time is, we'll fix them now, but I'll teach you the tools that will keep finding. Because life goes on. So, when I started my recovery, Ebony was 13, she's now 18. Life's changed. I've had my daughter buy a house, hopefully for a while, and be a grandfather. You can have lots of things changing in life, so you have new triggers. I've changed jobs. You have to be aware. So this is why if you feel you're losing the control, having that food journey, if you find you're eating out of different habit, look at what's causing you, identify it. Looking at the foods, because in the journal I use has, when I've tried something new, what's been my response to that, how has that impacted me? So constantly, like I say, if you are used to using food to deal with your emotions, you've got it for good, right? But that doesn't mean to say it's a set life sentence, it just means that you just have to be aware that this is the way I respond with problems. And if I know that, I can deal with it because I'm just more conscious of it.
What if you're more likely to restrict your food?
If you know how to restrict food, I suggest you follow a structured meal plan.
Okay.
So basically, one thing that I coach clients on is what time do you have breakfast, what time do you have your evening meal, cut the day in half, that's when you have lunch, then you have a snack in between those meals, and snack between that and potentially one at night, depending on what time you have your meals. Because if you're eating regularly, it stops that restricted eating. Now, to some people, that's going, oh my God, I eat loads, I'll put lots of weight on. You're not, because you're still eating within your calories, you're just eating more frequently.
Anyone else any questions?
Can you apply the same techniques to, say I wouldn't consider myself an emotional eater, to watching that. I'm shall I say a lonely, lazy eater, because I work a very odd shift pattern. Like this week, for example, I won't see anybody all day. By the time I get up after, I've got off at work early tonight, so I've come to this, but I would normally get up tonight, everybody's in bed.
Yeah.
So I'll get up in the morning, everybody's in the house.
Yeah.
So I have breakfast alone, lunch before I go to work alone, then I'll have an evening meal in a room full of 50 burly blokes and what have you, with not the best access to the greatest facilities.
Yeah.
And then I'll get home and everyone's in bed.
Yeah.
So I'm not necessarily, I've never eaten in anger or anything like that, but I spend most of my life eating alone.
Yeah, so you're a lone eater.
So I'm literally like, okay, so you want to have this healthy meal, you want to do that, but it's 11 o'clock at night, everyone's asleep, you try not to wake everybody up. Right, what can I bung in the microwave? That's hot. So you apply the same techniques to that kind of thing, you go to different.
It's still emotion.
I would get yourself an ISO bag and write little notes on, or little puzzles that you can do with yourself, or get your partner to do something and add something to that lunchbox so you feel they're still with you whilst you're eating that meal, and plan it and prep it in advance.
There's ways, right, again, like you, it's like finding this option, but yeah, you can't apply this completely, because again, you've still got some emotion attached to food because you're lonely. You don't see anything to eat with.
Yeah.
So again, it's just following that process of eating and using that time you're then eating to, not focus on that big number, but just focus on your food more.
I feel like suggest you talk to people around you that are like, so they understand all of this for you to like be recovering. Like, say, because I still live with my mum at the moment, but like, she can be quite unhelpful. I'll ask her not to buy things in the house and like, yeah, so I'm all the time. So, like, how do I talk to her to?
That is a really good question. So, it's difficult, but sharing your feelings with others. I see this with a lot of people. I didn't tell you my story. My most easy stems from when I was 9 years old. My brother had a minuscule news accident. He was paralysed and he was in hospital for 2 years. I lost my parents because they looked after him. So I was put in foster care. I went there with some friends. Now, the mother there, her way of dealing with him was to feed him. If she were happy, she'd bake a cake. If she was sad, she'd pop up with a cup of chocolate and she had to sing. So that's where my habits came from. Now, for you, when you're talking to your mother, it's almost like it's important. This is important to you. This is your life, right? And it's almost saying to her that, Mum, I don't want to upset you. I don't want to fall out with you, but you buying that food. If you were an alcoholic, would you want to put vodka in that food? If you're a drug addict, right? I'm not saying you're a food alcoholic, but she wouldn't like do you want this 20 quid, go and get some back? She wouldn't. It's about if you can open up about your feelings and your concerns about food with her and share that, use that analogy and go, but Mum, if she's buying it for herself, that's different. But if she thinks she's helping you and buying you, it's tough, but we're real honest and say, look, this isn't going to help me. I'm here crying, I'm getting fit, I'm trying to, and all you're doing is like pulling you away from my things. I'm trying to build a better me. I'm trying to find these urges, but you're making it harder for me. And don't make it about her, make it about you. Does that help?
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you.
You could also look at secure attachment theories.
That's fine.
Thank you very much for seeing it.
How you would have that conversation with your mum. There's like 4 types.
Right, so next I was through the rest of this year, as Chris said, we've got it for the whole year, so there's going to be 4 quarterly workshops just like this every 3 weeks of the year. On the months in between, there's going to be live online Q&As, and there's going to be some permanent resources that are created and made available on the website you can refer to at any point. I hope you enjoyed that, guys, and enjoyed going to be giving Chris a round of applause. chair back in the entrance way, that would be a great help, thank you.